All right, I want to do something a little different. So we're going to talk about some horror games. No, not board games like the Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy's game here. And you can't see it down here, but I have both Nightmare on Elm Street board games. Maybe one day I'll do something on board games, but for now we're going to talk about video games. Now, of course, I started, like most people my age, with the NES, with games like Friday the 13th, which I actually beat this recently, like within the last few years. You have to like get Jason's mother's sweater and defeat her flying head, and then Jason, you have to kill him 3 times, and then he's not even dead, which he never is anyways. And then you got Jaws, which has an ending like Jaws the Revenge, where you like spear the shark at the end. These LJN games are pretty horrible, but you know, we were kids, and they were silly at the time, and they were little novelties. And then the PlayStation came around, and we started to get more unique titles that were like, oh wow, like, okay, this is cool. Like Evil Dead, Hail to the King. I remember seeing when this was coming out, I was like, whoa, they're making an Evil Dead game? Holy shit, I can't even believe it. And then they ended up making, you know, other ones later on, like Fistful of Boomstick and Regeneration. And that's just awesome. I mean, these are cool. But I definitely want to talk about the games that really, really hit with me hard. And the first horror game that really struck a chord with me and really opened up my eyes to what gaming could be. This came out around the same time as Metal Gear Solid. And that game is Resident Evil 2. This game blew my mind at the time. And as I said, it really opened up my mind to what gaming could become. Because when I was a kid, gaming was just an objective. You know, you got from the beginning of the level to the end of the level. You had games like Mario and Sonic, and you know, the characters were just colorful little guys to move around the screen. They didn't have a story. They didn't have, you know, a personality all so much more than just like a little woohoo or something like that. And when I saw Metal Gear Solid for the first time, when I was playing it, I was like, wow, you could like, this is a story. Like you could tell an incredible story. What a wonderful medium to explore this in, because you get to also be in charge of the character within this story too, which added a whole nother layer to experiencing a story. So I just thought, it really kind of like blew my mind at the time, because I'd never thought of video games in that way. It was like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and all these games where it was just like, punch the guy and he'll fall over, or you'll fall over eventually, and that's it. That's the game. And now, obviously many, many years later, gaming stories are almost just as important, if not more important to some people like me. I really like the story. That's why the Uncharted franchise is my favorite, because that's my favorite story in video games. But yeah, it's really incredible. And as I said, it really just changed the way I thought of video games from there on. So yeah, Resident Evil 2, and I came out and I played it. It was scary, and the story was intriguing, and I really got invested in... And I didn't play Resident Evil 1 before this. I played Resident Evil 1 after this. So if you're wondering why it wasn't Resident Evil 1, it was because 2 was the first one I had played. I don't know why I missed it. I did, but whatever. I put this on, and holy shit. Like that first cutscene, you look now and the graphics are pretty shitty, but then, oh my God, I just thought that was like, oh my God, no graphics will ever be better than these cutscenes. And clearly they are now, but whew, it really just got me. And the gameplay and the objectives and the puzzle solving, and wow, what a thrill ride that was. Then the PlayStation 2 came out. Now this game isn't so much for gameplay, but just pure storyline. and that is The Thing for the PlayStation 2. Now, this was a game, when it came out, I was dying to get, because John Carpenter's The Thing was one of my favorite films of all time at that time. Still is. And this was approved by John Carpenter. He himself has a quote on here. "This is one intense action horror game. You gotta play this one, man. It'll blast you against the wall." So, like, Carpenter gave a seal of approval for this. So this tells the story of what happens after the events of John Carpenter's The Thing. So with the prequel that we got, which tells the story of, you know, the prequel, the story that takes place over in the Norwegian camp, this one tells what happened after, you know, Childs and McCready are, you know, left up in the open, like what the hell happened, and this tells us what happens. And I know a lot of people love the mystery of that, and that's fine, but I'm an answers kind of guy, so I like to play this, and I like to see and I visualize all this as a trilogy. The prequel, Carpenter's, and this is like a trilogy to me and a story. So yeah, that, just from a story aspect, just finding out what happened after was just the coolest shit ever to me. The gameplay is a little wonky, but very cool game if you're a hardcore Thing fan. Games that never really get talked about all that much, and most people don't even know exist. And I'm not saying these are my favorite games right here by any means, but they're pretty damn cool games, and I just got to bring them up if I'm talking about horror games right now, is the Blair Witch games for the PC. It's actually pretty cool. Takes place in the 1700s, 1785. And you're going and investigating the history and the you know, the story of Ellie Kedward, and they're cool. They're cool games. They have a great atmosphere about them. They're much cooler than you would expect. Another franchise that got a few games that no one really ever talks about is the Saw franchise. And these games, yeah, these are cool, man. This one takes place with Danny Glover's character in the first movie, who survives the events of that movie, and he's put through his own game in this game. And as I said, it got a sequel as well, so cool stuff. But I'm not saying those are amazing, but they're damn cool. Now, getting back into games that I adore. One I don't own physically, I do own it on my thing, because they sell it in a triple pack, but I don't own that physically. I just have it downloaded on my computer, and is one of the most terrifying experiences playing a video game you will ever experience, and that is the Outlast games. Man, those are crazy. You have no weapons. All you can do is run and hide, and that is it. There is Outlast 1, Outlast Whistleblower, and Outlast 2. I have played 1 and Whistleblower. I have not played 2. But my good God, those games are awesome. And, you know, it's funny because my brother, Nathan, is really into horror. Not like I am, but he's a big horror fan. And he can't play horror games. Like Outlast, he just gets way too nervous. He's just is like, nope, can't do it. I think there's something about playing them and controlling the characters and focusing on how you're trying to play the game. And it really takes in your brain to be able to do that, because you have to fully focus while playing. And then when something happens, it like jumps out at the screen. And it freaks him the fuck out. And it's hilarious to watch. Like, I force him to play here and there just for my own entertainment. So that's one I can't show you. But wow, that one really blew me away at the time when I played it for the first. I was like, wow, this game is scary. Holy shit. Another game, which is a DLC of this game, but it was just such a blast. Now, of course, there's tons of other horror games that I could mention here, like the Dead Space games, which are great, and Alien Isolation, which is just pretty damn similar to that. Silent Hill and Resident Evil 7. Holy shit. I don't own that, but that game's fantastic. That is probably my favorite Resident Evil game if I'm just going off of pure quality. Resident Evil 2 has the nostalgia for sure, but Resident Evil 7, man, because I didn't like 5 or 6, and then 7, I was just like, oh god, here we go again. And when I put that on, that is, wow, that's one of the best horror games I've ever played. But anyway, back to this. We have Red Dead Redemption, which they have the Undead Nightmare DLC where everything goes zombie. That's a cool ass horror game, man. Really, really good. And Red Dead Redemption is one of the all-time greats. I even played Red Dead Revolver, which took place before this game. It was on PS2. But I am heavily looking forward to Red Dead Redemption 2. Hope that gets a zombie DLC or something even different, like a cool ass DLC, because their last DLC was amazing. Now, my number one favorite horror game of all time was this game. And then one came out and, just blew it away. And that's saying something, because I never thought any game would beat this. And to blow it away is an incredible feat. But let's talk about the second now, which was the first forever. And that is Alan Wake for Xbox 360, which did get a sequel as well called Alan Wake's American Nightmare. But it was a download only. Did not get a hard release. This game has such an incredible storyline. I love the characters so much. The atmosphere, the way it's done with the chapters and the music and the previously ons and all that stuff. Wow, the way they tell this story. It's very Stephen King-like. I mean, I want to say it's just based pure, on a Stephen King. It kind of feels like a In the Mouth of Madness. It's this horror writer who can't tell the difference between dreams and reality anymore, and you keep going in and out of what one nightmare after the other, and you can't figure out which one of them is actually your life, and it keeps going in and out of time and places, and fuck, this game's amazing. This game is incredible. Anybody who hasn't played this game, please, if you're a horror game fan, you probably already played it, but for some reason you haven't, pick it up. Holy fuck, this game's incredible. So yeah, this one really had me. And it's only T for teen, which is, it makes sense, but yeah, you use the light to fend off creatures, and when you're going through the woods in this game and you have your flashlight and your gun out and there's things chasing you in the dark, it's scary, man. It is, as I said, I think horror games are such a great way to tell a story and to scare people. But here we go. Now, the greatest horror game of all time, in my opinion, and there's nothing even close, and it is one of the greatest games of all time. And if earlier you heard that Uncharted was my favorite game series of all time, you can pretty much guess what this is going to be, and its sequel comes out this year, which is my most anticipated game of the year, easily. The Last of Us. Holy shit, is this game incredible. Joel and Ellie, I'm telling you, I have never cared about characters more in a game in my life. I genuinely gave a shit. When it was cutscenes came, I was sitting there freaking biting my nails oh my god, Joel's not gonna die, is he? Ellie's not gonna die, is she? I was fucking wrecked throughout this game, because I was just don't do it. Don't do it. I love them both too much. Don't you dare. And I'm probably going to be like that in The Last of Us Part 2, which you haven't seen those trailers yet. Holy shit, those trailers are fucking better than most movies I see these days. This game, and then the Left Behind DLC here, exploring Ellie's past. I'm not going to say what it is if you haven't played it. But it really opens up a lot of her character and shows us more of her. But yeah, fantastic. So anyway, what's your favorite horror games? Please let me know. I have played a ton of them. There's tons here that I haven't mentioned, like Fatal Frame and Deadly Premonition and all sorts of different things. Deadly Premonition, that game's fucking weird. All right, guys, let me know. All right.